Although I've got absolutely no time whatsoever, it's short, I have been looking forward to this time for ages and ages and ages. Thank you so much. Are you all having fun? Yeah. Fascinating, isn't it? And I'm hoping it's going to get a little bit more fascinating because this is a very, very personal topic. I'll get right to the point. My favorite saying is, if all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. You've heard that saying, right? Well, the reason I like it is because every time I come across a problem where I'm struggling to solve it, or I'm trying to implement something, and it just isn't going very well, that saying reminds me to step back and take a look, am I using the right thinking? Am I using the right tool to get to where I want to go? So the last 26 years, since the inception of MindTime, we have been working in many different industries, education, healthcare, organizational development, financial services, and in every one of these industries, we come across exactly the same problem being solved in an old and not very effective way. And I think you know what I'm talking about. The problem is understanding people. And the way we go about understanding people is using what's called trait-based psychology. And it's not surprising that that's become the industry standard of understanding people, because the very science of psychology is built upon this empirical observation of traits. 150 years ago, we have William Wundt to thank for it. We started to make a science out of psychology by watching people, measuring it, and writing it down. And now whole industries are actually dedicated to understanding people using exactly the same old, broken, in my opinion, and I hope to persuade you, tool. So, by the way, is this registering with anyone in here? That do you know what that is? Like the oceans and all these different psychometrics, and they're all trait-based. They're looking at the people from the outside, and they've got no clue as to why people actually do what they do. They just know that they did it. Past tense, intentional. So if you take something like a construct, an ocean construct, and you then add lots and lots of analytics data on online behavior, and you mash that lot together, not only do you get big data, you also get a bloody mess, because you can't really know what's going on. It's not very predictive. Now I'm going to grab this little thing here, and I'm going to tell you something very interesting. We tend to look at people today as though they were pixels, and we try to aggregate those pixels into nice pictures. And what we've forgotten is that pixels are made up of something very simple. And that very simple thing, oh, there it is. That very simple thing is RGB, red, green, and blue. And red, green, and blue, it makes up everything. I mean, look around you. Every color on every body is made up of three things, despite the extraordinary, lovely, luscious richness of our experience. It's RGB. And you know, one of the interesting things is, when you have a foundational trilogy, an actual foundational trilogy, there is always magic. Magic at the middle of that trilogy. And the magic is the fact that when you combine three things, and you only need three foundational things to create an extraordinary rich understanding of reality. Now, time is one of those trilogies. Time is one of those trilogies. And I'm not talking about tick-tock time. I'm talking about temporality. It comes from the Latin word tempus, time. And this thing called time is actually three perceptual constructs that govern all behavior. Now, these are codependent and interdependent. Now, I know we don't like the word codependent, but actually these things cannot exist without each other, past, present, and future. And they entirely rely on each other to interact and produce their magic. And what I'm going to show you a little bit about is that magic and what we can do with it. Humans have evolved to optimize these survival priorities, but the fact of the matter is that fish do exactly the same things. Exactly the same things. So they go for things, rather, firstly, they try to keep things normal by actually swimming around each other in schools. So if it looks like it's blue and three stripes, and that's what I was born next to, that's my normal, that's what I do, that's what I swim next to. The next priority that we have as human beings is to go after possibilities. Now, you cannot actually go after something that you haven't got yet unless you could conceive of a future at some level. It's just that simple. And the third priority is to seek certainty through information. Now, if you have no memory, which is past, of something that happened before, there has to be that past dynamic, if you will, for there to be the information for you to be informed that that thing is going to eat you and you should go in the opposite direction. The ocean model you've no doubt heard of, and the MindTime framework, which is essentially the framework of time, does not in any way say that oceans is wrong, but it explains why those traits exist. It's the RGB behind the traits. So we're measuring with MindTime the fundamentals that actually go into making up the behaviors that for 150 years we've been observing and trying to reverse engineer human thinking out of, with human behavior and why people are the way they are. And the amazing thing is, as you'd expect, the variance explained. That basically means to what degree is thinking style actually responsible for those traits. The numbers are extraordinary when you look at them. So I want to show you something interesting, which is you. It's the most interesting thing in the world. This is the Nudgestock audience. Down there you can see the white dot, that's Rory Sutherland. And the purple one, that's me. And I knew I loved Rory's thinking right from the very first time I heard him on a radio show about 15 years ago. We're almost twins down there in terms of our thinking. This is the rest of the audience. Now, I don't have time to go into the richness of detail that I could tell you about this particular audience just from looking at that map. But what I can do is apply two thought dynamics. The first one is this. We call it the yes-no dynamic. All the people on the right-hand side, whoever you are, and it's you, by the way, so you know where your dot is, I'll guarantee you, I can absolutely unequivocally guarantee you that you will say yes more often than you will say no. And the further you are on that side, the more that's the case. And the no side does not mean no, as in stick in the mud, which is what many people think is going on, but it's not. What it really means is, I don't know enough yet to make that decision, to say yes. That's the first thought dynamic. Second thought dynamic, and by the way, there is so much more information in here. That's, it's not my music. The second thought dynamic, the abstract concrete. This has been a really interesting day. I got my hair wet this morning too. The practical side of the life, the concrete side of things. The further north you are on this map, by the way, the more you are one of those majority adopters in the marketplace. Just as in the last one, the more you are over on the right-hand side towards future, the more you're the innovator and the early adopter. This absolutely maps the chasm, there's no doubt about it. South of the line, you're the abstracts. So with Rory and me, you've got very abstract people who wave their arms in the air, talk very fast, and actually always say yes. And then we keep talking and talking and talking. But I haven't got very long, so I'm going to get on with it. Layers of data. This is the interesting thing about MindTime. It doesn't matter what the name of the person is. We don't care who as an individual. We care because we can tie data to a framework. And it's a stable framework. And it's highly predictive. The variance explained by MindTime is consistently higher, much higher than any trait-based model. So that gives us the ability of looking at various behaviors, layering that data, and by the way, you can layer it straight on your data. It's that simple thing to integrate into your data sets. And what's really fascinating about it is it doesn't make the data you've got irrelevant. Not the ocean's data, doesn't matter what behavioral data. What it'll do is it'll explain that data to you and the why behind it. So, EV ads. All of you who took the survey, and by the way, if you haven't, there are QR code stickers all around the facility, including in the labs, but by the way, the one behind the door, don't use it. Someone opens the door, your camera's finished. This ad, okay, we can unfold what's happening in the relationship between the audience and the ad. And here is what we call Thermomaps. This is a proprietary technology. It is actually predictive. And what it tells us is that where there's blue, people are going, nah, don't like it. Don't like it, I'm cold, it turns me off. When there's red, it's like, yep, I like that, that's hot. And we can see out of this audience of 352 people, that ad, if you put it in the wrong media and you were targeting at future thinkers, innovators, people who like to get up, go, do things quickly, it would be a total disaster. But the people who actually are the past thinkers, the ones who have the most past thinking in their makeup, that is, they would love this ad. And we can see that the male-female segmentation that we have at the bottom, we applied 2 filters, male-female. This, by the way, is gender at sex. This is the one that was assigned to you. It doesn't really matter what we identify it. That's how we did it. And we can see that 15, by the way, R squared means how much of this is really a result of thinking style. 15% of the reason people would like that ad or dislike that ad was because of their thinking style. That's an enormous impact that thinking style is having on an outcome. All right, so the rest of these ads, you can see also at the QR codes, there's 10 in all, and you can see the results and it displays them like this, and it's an absolutely fascinating story. So you can take the survey there, you can look at the ads, you can see in real time the analytics updating, because it's a live platform. All right, I'm going to wrap this up. MindTime has been around for 26 years, although you've probably never heard of it in this industry. We today, I'm very proud to say, are launching a new platform into the communications and marketing space. So this platform built in, or rather incorporates everything that I've talked about. So I'd like you to help me welcome, built on the DNA of MindTime, a new and entirely different way of understanding people. It's called SmartSlices. Thank you very much.